You are listening to the Unsoberly Sober Show. I'm your host, Magnify Maggie. This podcast will turn your perception of going sober upside down. We're going to be working from the inside out to get you that dream life. So make sure you stick around for the end of the episode where I'm going to walk you through our weekly positive pursuit exercise to begin rewiring that beautiful mind, baby. What is up, my free and powerful friend? Welcome back. It's the Unsoberly Sober Show. I'm your host, Magnify Maggie. We're walking in, I don't know what word I'm trying to say there. We're walking into episode 5 today, and I'm so excited about this topic because I think that it really does help the average, quote unquote, normal drinker understand why they're drinking. It helps the person who can spot that maybe alcohol is no longer serving them, but maybe they're also kind of legitimizing their actions because it's not that bad and everybody else is doing it and I don't drink as much as X, Y, and Z. And there's all these ways that we rationalize drinking in our minds, but then we still end up not really wanting to drink. Why is it that we do then? So this episode is for the people that don't actually want to drink, but they find themselves caving in these tight moments, these little corners they find themselves stuck in. I have a very special question from a listener. This listener is likely on kind of the AUD spectrum, stage 1 or stage 2, alcohol use disorder, stage 1 or 2, where it's not something they're mentally dependent on, but they're finding that they use it in those hard moments. This question, thank you so much for submitting this. One thing I know that I still do is I tend to drink when I'm in uncomfortable situations or when I'm feeling very anxious or in a room full of a lot of people, because I'm still working on figuring out how to be myself in those situations. And to be honest, I've spoken on this before in previous episodes, but I assert that drinking isn't so much about the alcohol all the time, but it's rather what is the alcohol doing for you? And when we kind of look at the genetic model or the disease model, it really just places something inherent inside of you needing the drink or something in the alcohol that makes you want it so much. But there's something internal that's driving that even more. And that's what I'm really excited to talk about today. The main theme for today is what function is alcohol playing in your life? This is called the functionality of your drinking. You can really use this with any coping mechanism. What's beautiful about what I've done with clients, members of the Magnify community, is we see that this actually translates into really any coping mechanism. So if you're listening to this, and yes, alcohol is one of those things that you lean on, but maybe you also see that it's food or shopping or overworking or kind of using external validation as that drug, then what we're going to talk about today is really going to open your eyes. What function is your coping mechanism doing for you? So I would put money that if you resonate with the question that this listener submitted about needing to drink in uncomfortable situations, being anxious, being around a lot of people, still figuring out who I am in those situations, if you resonate with that, I am going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that you will also resonate with these character traits. And these are probably things that you recognize, but you don't necessarily see at play day to day. First off, insecurity. If you're very insecure, wouldn't it make sense that we learn to use a little shortcut, a hack called a drink to boost our confidence? If we have a lack of confidence, if we have insecurities, then hey, alcohol definitely helps us boost those, right? It helps us get that liquid courage, that social lubricant. But that doesn't mean that you should just settle and say, well, I'm an insecure person. I lack confidence. We can learn these things. We can learn to be confident. And that's what today's all about. I would say that another character trait for somebody that leans on alcohol, maybe even food as well, any kind of coping mechanism when they're feeling nervous or uncomfortable, they lack self-worth. They don't feel like they bring anything to life. They don't feel like they have a purpose here on earth. They don't sense a direction that they should go, an authentic desire. So they're kind of this tumbleweed blowing in the wind saying, what is life? And when we don't know what life is, a lot of times we're going to look to create it with the chaos of drinking, right? We don't have anything exciting to make us feel worthy of ourselves. We haven't created that for ourselves. So we take a shortcut. There's another one, lack of self-love, lack of an ability to hold yourself in your emotional state. If you're angry, you judge yourself for that. If you're sad, you feel ashamed for feeling sad. And we have these normal human emotions that then we judge harshly, and we give ourselves a lot of crap for feeling that way, when we could just say, this is a human experience. I can feel sad, I can feel angry, and this too shall pass. An inability to forgive yourself. If you are unable to forgive yourself, then you're going to see every little mishap as a failure and an affirmation that you as a person are a failure. And that's not going to help you when you're going into things that are outside of your comfort zone, and you're going to have to, quote unquote, fail to grow, fail to learn and gain those learning lessons. But if you are unable to forgive yourself, then you're never going to be able to see failures as learning lessons. And hey, now that I experienced this quote unquote setback or failure, I have more information to actually propel me forward when I try again. And so that inability to forgive yourself starts to shade every experience that you have. The last one, I would say, isn't probably the last one, but the largest one that stands out in my mind as a character trait. You hold yourself to extremely high standards and you judge yourself harshly. So outside of those emotions that you might judge yourself for, you're also judging yourself on imperfection. You set extremely high standards for yourself. You're wondering, am I going to be perfect? I hope I'm perfect. And no matter how close to perfect you get, you still find ways to tear yourself down. Now I'm going to take a breath. Going to take a beat. I'm going to run back through those. Insecurity, lack of self-confidence, lack of self-worth, lack of purpose, aimlessness, lack of self-love, inability to forgive yourself, and holding yourself to extremely high standards and judging yourself harshly. Now, if that is your inner world, if that is the belief system that you're carrying around with you day in and day out, think about how that would play out when you go into a social experience. If you have a lack of confidence when you're with everybody, we kind of illustrated this in a previous episode, how is your body language going to be? How are you going to radiate to other people? Is it going to be an off-putting energy? Or is it going to be a magnetic energy? If you're very insecure about every little thing that you say, you're probably going to say silly things that aren't really authentic. You're just saying things to make sure everybody else likes you still, doing things to make sure you stay in good graces with everyone around you. But inside, you're screaming because you're not saying what's authentic to you, what's actually on your mind. If you have that lack of self-worth and that lack of purpose, the aimlessness there, then there's nothing outside of that social experience to drive your mind to staying outside of your comfort zone. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're working on really authentic goals, something that's fulfilling. You're connected to something in the future. Then being at the party or the networking mixer or the cocktail function, being there on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, that's not the highlight of your life because you have more exciting things to look forward to. And that instills purpose and confidence, and it alleviates insecurities because you know, this isn't the highlight of my life. This can be a 6 or a 7 on the fun scale, and that's okay. I don't need alcohol to take it to a 10 because I have 10s across my life and every day. Tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to feel anxiety free. I'm going to go after my goals and I'm going to feel great. That gives you a sense of confidence in your skin in the moment because you have things outside of your life going on. You have things going on outside of that one experience that drive you forward. So you don't feel stuck and everything doesn't feel overwhelming. When you're around a bunch of strangers, you actually have this sense of calm and peace and tranquility inside because you know where you're going. And you know that whatever happens in this moment is not going to be make or break for you. It's just another experience. And when this experience is done, you go on with your bad self and you go create that beautiful life. Purpose and having a sense of direction and a sense of self-worth is so important. And a lot of times we think, oh, going to a party and not drinking or being around people, a room full of people that I'm anxious in, we think that, oh, it's just the alcohol that makes me want it, but it's actually the inner environment that you are unconsciously choosing to create that then makes the alcohol sound a lot better. With that lack of self-love, again, inability to forgive yourself, alcohol is going to help you with those things, right? So it's like that's that little shortcut. I want to kind of paint this picture that a lot of times it's not really that we have a drinking problem. It's that we have a self-image problem. And we see ourselves as the type of person that needs alcohol in these ways. And so I had a little conversation with this listener before I brought it here for everybody to enjoy. But I was saying, well, when you're anxious, what are you anxious about? And this listener said, well, I'm afraid I'm going to make people upset. I'm afraid that I'm going to kind of basically, in their words, I'm going to be out of their good graces if I say what's really on my mind. Maybe I'm weird or silly and they think that about me. Well, then I question, are you okay with somebody being angry at you? Can you be okay with somebody in their own reality having an opinion about you that maybe doesn't match who you are? Does that affect you? What if you don't even know about it? What if you imagine that they actually really liked you? How would that make you feel? Even though it's just imagining, you're also imagining that they don't like you, and that's taking over. So just as easy as it is to imagine that they don't like you or they're mad at you or they think you're weird or awkward, it's just as easy to imagine that they think you're magnificent, that they think that you're gregarious, that they think that you're a magnetic, magical creature. And when you start to imagine in that way, you see yourself. You start to hold your self-image in a higher esteem. If we are always searching for external validation, it's an indication that we don't hold that confidence for ourselves, that we need other people's opinions to create our own opinion of me. My own opinion of myself is based off of if everybody likes me. If everybody likes me, then I'm doing really good. And if everybody hates me, well, I must be a failure. There's that old saying, if everybody loves you, you're not doing it right. You're not being yourself. I know that when I was drinking, and even before I started drinking, when I really think back to my childhood, there was this personality characteristic that I had where I would chameleon. I would chameleon to be whoever this group of people wanted me to be, or who I thought that they wanted me to be. So if this group of people says that they love trap music, here I am, Topeka, Kansas girl. Oh, I love trap music too. Like, what? No, I don't. If they say they love staying out all night, all of a sudden, hey, I'm right here with you because I want to make sure that me going home doesn't leave you thinking that I'm lame. So I would chameleon and I would make myself into this cookie cutter version of whatever these groups wanted me to be, which then meant I'm not living authentically. So inside, I resent myself. And if we resent ourselves, doesn't it make sense that we would find a tool to then escape ourselves? Absolutely. So this episode is really about finding that compassion for yourself instead of saying, man, I have a low sense of self-worth. I have low self-esteem. I don't have anything in my life that makes me feel like I have a sense of purpose or direction. It's not about figuring out what's wrong with you, but it's about creating the awareness where those holes and those leaks in your bucket are, and then patching them through internal work. Doing the deep dive in your own mind, figuring out when I want to drink, why is it? Because, okay, let me back it up here. Before I was 28, the last time that I had gone more than 30 days without drinking was when I was 13 or 14 years old, when I first started. So with that being said, when we are developing and we're starting to create our social identity, even as young as teenagers, if we always reach for alcohol in those social environments, then we're not learning how to socialize without it. So for many people that are stuck in this realm, they're now adults and they're maybe cutting back, they have more responsibilities, but they're seeing, okay, when I'm in this room full of people, I'm anxious or I'm insecure, I don't know what to do with my hands. They lean on alcohol because that's what they've practiced, right? I know for myself, I had to go into rooms deciding I am not drinking tonight and I am going to experience all the feels. I am going to let my hands get sweaty. I'm going to let my heart race. I'm going to let us all feel awkward in the first 15 minutes because, hey, let's be real. Everybody feels awkward. I'm going to remind myself when I'm having one-on-one sober conversations with people, even if they're drinking, I'm going to remind myself that they are just as in their head as I am in my head. They are just as wound up in their own stories, their own insecurities as I am. And that gave me this sense of calm, like, hey, whatever happens in this room, in this party, at this holiday festivity, whatever happens, it's not going to make or break me. And in fact, every time I stepped out of my comfort zone and I practiced going into these experiences sober, committed to it, went the whole evening without drinking, that built mental toughness. And it proved to my mind that the walls around me were not going to cave in if I said no to a drink, or if I happened to stumble on my words, or tell a silly story, or maybe make a funny face. And then my normal tendency would have been, oh my gosh, what if these people must think I'm crazy? Oh, I need a drink. I need a drink. I need a drink. It was like, okay, that was a funny face I just made. Oh, now I'm going to look around and I'm going to see that nobody is taking note of that. And everybody is all in their own head and nobody cares. Okay, cool. So what you're telling me is that nobody cares as much as I care? Yes, absolutely. Everybody is in their own world. But going back to, practicing using alcohol so much without any cause for concern, it became an unconscious pattern. So I was using it in those social situations without realizing and recognizing what was driving the bus. So then when I stopped and I said, what function is this drink playing in my life? I could say, oh, I really want to drink. Why? It was really the follow-up sentence that brought about the awareness. Whatever that sentence is in your mind, you've got to jot it down, remember it, and then go to work on it. So my sentence was always, well, it's not going to be fun without alcohol. So the function of alcohol is to help me have fun or be fun. Okay, so is fun actually slurring your words and getting blackout drunk and feeling like shit the next day? Is that really fun, or did it just feel fun in the moment of the dopamine hitting you? Can I create fun without alcohol? Now, this takes practice, but here is that functionality. If you have not learned how to have fun, let loose, be silly, joke, play games without alcohol, it's likely because you take yourself too seriously and you rely on that shortcut to then help you lower those inhibitions. But you can actually lower your inhibitions in your own mind by your own self-talk, your own ability to hold yourself in those nervous feelings and say, why am I nervous? Oh, I think maybe, for me it was, maybe people will think I'm stupid for not drinking, or they'll think I have a problem with drinking. And then I would hold myself in that and say, is it okay to be nervous about this? This is the first time I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, going into this party, letting myself be awkward if I'm awkward, letting myself be silly if I want to be silly. Is that wrong to be nervous about? No, it's not wrong. You can validate those emotions and then have a healthy, like, adult to inner child conversation saying, hey, I see you and I see that you're nervous, but what if we switch that nervousness into excitement, because you know that you can let yourself have fun. And this is going to sound wild to somebody who is absolutely mentally dependent on alcohol to have quote unquote fun. But the more you practice it, the more you are free from that self-limiting belief. I have members of the Sober Experiment, members of Magnify, even my one-on-one Magnify clients coming back all the time to say, wow, I had no idea that the key to having fun was just me saying, I can let myself have fun. If you tell yourself you're not going to have fun without alcohol, then you won't have any fun. Picture this. You're sitting in the party and you're like, oh, this isn't going to be fun without alcohol. I'm so anxious. Well, let's say somebody comes up and tells you a joke. And oh my gosh, you're starting to loosen up and you're starting to feel good. And you're starting to say, okay, I'm having a little fun. Look at me. I'm smiling. I'm enjoying this. If you've told yourself that you can't have fun and that you're an anxious person without alcohol, then in that moment of recognizing that you're having fun without it, your mind will pop in and say, hey, but you're an anxious person. You can't have fun without alcohol. And then your mind will go back to low vibration. It'll kick back in to pull you down and say, what can you be anxious about? Oh, maybe this person only came up and talked to me because they felt sorry for me. Maybe this person told me that joke because they think that I just needed some help or something. They think I have a problem. And your self-talk will then reiterate all of those fears that you went in with. Your mind will validate those fears. So it is practice to say, I'm going into this experience. Can I have fun? Yeah. Can I play games? Yeah. Can I be a little loosey-goosey? And if you're just listening, I'm doing a little wave dance with my hands. And this is something I do myself before I go into something. I'm getting ready. I put on some good music. I shake out any nerves from my hands, from my arms. I let it be. I free myself from that tie to that belief. And I say, Maggie, you are going to have fun. You are going to make things fun. You create fun conversations, activities, experiences, and you leave everybody with the impression of increase. This is my self-talk. What is your self-talk? As you're going into these rooms and you're saying, I don't know who I am without alcohol, you're giving yourself the key to awareness. You're saying, okay, I realize I'm still working on figuring out how to be myself in those situations without alcohol. That's coming from a place of, I recognize that I don't know who I am in those rooms without alcohol. So here's your homework. Get to know you. So often we care so much more about other people's opinions of us than we do of our own. We forget that we can come up with our own self-interpretations, our own self-opinions. Remember, your reputation does not lie within you, so you cannot concern yourself with it. That is somebody else's opinion due to their interpretations, their experiences, their memories, their fears, their self-limiting beliefs, their ego. So what they think of me is none of my business. It has nothing to do with me. But more importantly is my opinion of myself and knowing who I am. When you know who you are, you just belong. You belong. You possess a sense of belonging where you go. If you don't know who you are going to be chameleoning yourself to fit in wherever you can see other people's expectations of you. And actually, I'll take that a step further and say, the expectations that you think people hold of you are probably not true either. Those are imagination pieces. If you say, I bet people will think I'm lame for not drinking, I bet they're going to think I'm awkward, I bet they're going to think that I'm boring, whatever that little self-talk sentence is, what if they don't think that? What if they actually think you're an inspiration? They think you got your shit together. I think this quote is really powerful. It's not what I think of me, and it's not what you think of me. It's what I think that you think of me. And doesn't that make sense? A lot of times you just have this imagined vision of people thinking something about you, and none of that is correct. They could be looking at you with heart eye emojis saying, man, I want to be like her. I want to be like him. But the main thing is that you possess that self-knowing, that self-worth. I'm so glad that I know who I am. And I don't think most people do know who they are. They're so concerned with being what other people want them to be that when that sense of discomfort comes in, I'm not being my authentic self. Here I am in this room. I don't even really enjoy this conversation. I don't see the point of being here. They drink. And that's either coming down to their mindset of not letting themselves enjoy it, not letting themselves feel good in that conversation. Or the caveat to that is maybe you've been practicing drinking so long that you just go get involved with rooms of people that are also drinking, and alcohol has helped you mask the truth that you don't actually enjoy this company. You don't actually enjoy this surface level party talk. You actually crave something deeper. So with that, is it attitude? Is it environment? Or is it a little bit of both? Because what I find, this is true for myself and every single person that I've worked with, whether it's group coaching, one-on-one, or the Magnify membership, they found that, wow, I thought that I loved my friends, but these friends are actually just drinking buddies. And these rooms that I was going into and forcing myself to try to fit in, I actually don't feel a draw to be around them. I actually don't see myself as being aligned with these groups of people. So sometimes it is purely environment, and other times, yes, it is your attitude. You could be surrounded by your family, your bestest friends, and you still feel anxious or uncomfortable. So what is it? Let's dig deep here. So between now and our next episode, I have an exercise for you that's going to help you become kind of aware of what it is. Is it environment or is it attitude? Is it a mixture of both? What I'll say is I postulate that a lot of it is coming from within. And this is how we can really become aware of that. Here's your exercise. Understand that the people that you look at, that you admire, that you say, oh, they're successful, maybe they are sober and they have so much fun going out and being in those environments, and they're gregarious and magnetic and all those things, and you look up to them. Or maybe it's somebody who's successful in their career or relationships, and they have a glass of wine and they're able to move on with their lives. Whatever it is that you see success as, then you see yourself. You might think that they are a completely different breed from you. Like, oh, that person is blessed. That person has an easy life. That person, God, higher power, whatever I believe in, that person was just fated for an easier time on earth. And me, the world is against me. I don't have any kind of confidence. I don't have anything, blah, blah, blah. It's very easy to say that person is succeeding because they lucked out. But here I am living out my fate. But this is what I want you to consider. The only difference between you and the person that you deem successful, that is a completely different breed, quote unquote, the only difference between you and the person that's successful are the ideas that they accept and you reject. The only difference between a successful type person and a failure type person are the ideas that the successful person accepts while the unsuccessful failure type person rejects. The successful type person accepts ideas like, I can step out of my comfort zone and I can create fun. Whereas the failure type person says, stepping outside of my comfort zone is too scary. I couldn't do that. I can't do that until I know exactly how I'm going to. The successful type person accepts failures as lessons. They say, oh, that thing happened to me, but now next time I'm going to try, I'm going to do it XYZ differently because I learned. I learned in my failure attempt, and I'm going to move on. While the failure type person rejects the idea that they could carry on with success. They accept the idea that this is proof that my life is always going to suck, that no matter how hard I try, my life is going to be awful. My life is going to be hard, right? The successful type person rejects ideas of futility. What's the point? I shouldn't even try. Look how many times I've tried this before and I never succeeded. They reject those ideas and they persist. Whereas the failure type person accepts ideas like, this is the way my life has always been. This is the way I will always be. So this week, your exercise is to challenge the thoughts that you accept that you should reject. Challenge the thoughts that you should accept that you regret instead. Audit the thoughts that you reject that you are deciding to accept. So what do you say? Nope, that's not me. That you need to start saying, yes, that is me. I am confident. I am fun. I am social. I have fun in social environments just from the natural happy hormones inside of me. What are the thoughts that you are rejecting that you need to accept? Go back to our thought audit from episode 1 and start using that same structure to pick out what thoughts you need to accept and which thoughts you need to reject. Go ham on those. Make those acceptance type thoughts your new affirmations. I am so happy and grateful now that I feel fun. I feel energized. I feel magnetic. I feel like I'm positively contagious. And go hard on those. Remember, the only difference between you and the person you want to become are the ideas that you accept and they reject, and the ideas that you reject and they accept. So in closing today, I want to send you love. I want to send you positivity as we enter the weekend, whatever is on your schedule. If it's a party, if it's a mixer, if it's a brunch, whatever you have on your calendar for this weekend, I want you to remember that you will get what you expect. If you expect it to be boring, anxiety-ridden, if you expect yourself to be awkward, that's what you will embody. But if you let yourself have fun, if you say, I know that this is going to be fun, but I also know that, hey, I have more fun things after this because I'm connected to my goals. I'm on my path to success. You have things outside of this one social event to look forward to. Then you are going to have so much fun, and even better, you're going to wake up the next morning, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning, feeling like a rock star. I promise. So in closing today, make sure that you keep up with our exercise of the week, challenging what you accept versus reject. Let me know your findings. And if you have a question like our lovely listener submitted today, make sure that you do the same. You can catch me comments on YouTube. You can email me, reach out on Instagram at Magnify Maggie. I'm here for you. And between now and then, until next time, remember to think different, to drink different, or never again, because it all goes down in the mind. It means the entire world to me that you have been here with me, letting me share my experiences and hopefully helping open your eyes to a bright, beautiful life ahead of you as well. So if you are loving this show, please, please, please subscribe, like, comment, and especially share this with somebody that might be in need. Please help get the word out. Word of mouth is so important, and I know that you're somebody special who can help me in this mission for thinking differently in order to drink differently or never again. Make sure you reach out if you have any questions you want discussed on the podcast. I'm here for it, so I'll talk to you soon. Signing out, Magnify Maggie.